How about now? Okay. It looks like we're live. I think my microphone is working. If it wasn't, it would not be unusual. I have a string number for microphone to work. YouTube just confirmed for me that my microphone is indeed working. As is usually the case, I'm going to spend a couple of minutes on some general blabber, let people join, and then start. As is always the case, you guys get to choose what we cover today. I had some regional plans on what I wanted to talk about, but ultimately I'm here for you. So if there is something else you want me to touch on, please bring it up, put it into the chat box, and if it's within my range, I'll do what I can. So what I had on the list for today were the following things. I had a mule deer hunt in Montana. It was a lot of fun. It's the first time I got a mule deer, so I'm very excited about it. So when I went on that hunt, I got a chance to use a very fancy rifle that I knew nothing about. It was a loaner that tomorrow is going back from a company called Alpine Riflecraft out of Canada. So somewhat inadvertently, I ended up with a very Canadian rifle because the scope I had on it, relatively unsurprisingly, was a Theta long-range hunter, the 3-15x50 version, which, shit, I forgot to bring with me. It's the other house. That's okay. You guys all know what it looks like. But we'll touch on that a little bit. I have some pictures if need be. We'll touch on why I think this is the best hunting scope in existence. And last but not least, or maybe we can cover that first if that's what you guys want to do. It's entirely up to you. And I remember to bring this one. Vortex announced today a new Razor scope. This is the Razor Gen3 4-24x44. And I've been playing with one for a few days, not for too long, again, because I've been busy. But I have one, and I have some first impressions. I'll probably have my first impressions video up maybe tomorrow, maybe Saturday, something like that. But I'll be happy to answer the questions. Just keep in mind that so far my testing of it has been not at all exhaustive. I put it into my 17 HMR, spent some time shooting, looking at things, running the turrets, that kind of stuff. So the final item on my agenda is the Vortex RG3, the new one. So that's what I've got on my plate. If there's anything else that comes to mind, just let me know. Like I said, put it in the chat box. If naturally, if you're watching this live, please tell me that you can see and hear me reasonably well to make sure that I'm not talking to myself here. Let's see what else. A little bit later, maybe in half hour or so, Aaron from Anarchy Outdoors might join me here. He was also curious about the scope, so he was asking a lot of questions. I told him that he should just join me and we can have a discussion about it. Okay, so let's see what we've got. We've got a couple of people here. Mr. Kleinbottle is here. Mr. Kleinbottle, for those who do not know, is a major European bus aficionado. So he spends a lot of his time researching the public transportation issues in Scandinavian countries, primarily Denmark and Norway, something like that. I never knew it was a hobby, but hey, apparently it is. Who knew? Okay. Where was I? All right. So since you guys don't have any new ideas or any suggestions, I'm going to start in order I originally intended. If you want to change anything up, you'll tell me. So let's first talk about mule deer. So this was my third attempt to shoot a mule deer. I had 2 mule deer hunts in the last few years in New Mexico. Both of them have been solo hunts, which ended in a very predictable manner, since I am not a very good hunter, not a very experienced one. They ended in abject failure. First, I had a hunt in the Unit 24 in the south of New Mexico. Mr. Hunt bucket is here, unsurprisingly. First, I had a hunt in New Mexico in Unit 24, which is very, very rugged. I saw whitetail, elk, turkeys, just about everything. What I did not see there was mule deer. Well, actually, in the campground where we were staying, we were mule deer does. We saw no bucks. And then last year, I had what's called a leftover tag. In New Mexico, when you apply for a draw tag, you can choose as your fourth option to get a tag that is a leftover tag, meaning nobody wanted it, and they just ask you which quadrant of the state you want to go from, northeast, northwest, etc. So I said, hell, why not? And I said, I'll take a northeast tag, and I got a mule deer tag in a game unit in northeastern New Mexico. And when I went there, I spent a few days there, I figured out why nobody wanted that tag. It was an absolute shit show. Private land was primarily landlocked by public land was primarily landlocked by private land, and that unit is generally more for antelope than anything else. I think 57, something like that. Don't remember. But anyhow, after 2 unsuccessful attempts, I decided that if I ever want to bag a mule deer, I need professional help. So this year, I went with a friend of mine. A friend of mine here is a very experienced hunter, and he knows a lot of outfitters all over the place. There is an outfit that they have their base camp right on the border of Montana and Wyoming, not far from a little town called Brodus, Montana. And the company is called Blue Rock Outfitters. Nice people, nice camp. I actually rather enjoyed them. So this time around, with professional help, I did manage to bag a mule deer. Yeah. I'm rather proud of it. The picture looks very washed out for some reason. It's not how it looks on my screen. It's interesting, but it is what it is. So it is a relatively decent 5x4 buck that was shot in like the last hour of the hunt I had. So I was there for 5 days. And if you think my face looks surprised, that's because it is. I was more or less at this stage resigned to just going home and to assuming that nothing was going to happen. Okay, I'm going to find you another picture. There we go. That's the other picture, and this gives you a somewhat better view of the rifle. To forewarn the obvious question that several people asked upon looking at this picture, no, the gun is not pointing at my testicles. It's just the effect of the picture, the way depth of field compression works. It's pointing right under my leg. I checked. I also checked that it's unloaded, and you can see it's unloaded. But either way, it's not pointing at any parts of me, private or otherwise. Mr. Lucio Viduri III. Congrats, brother. I know the area well. Excellent. I'm glad you do. So I've never been to that part of Montana. A friend of mine, the gentleman who runs Discreet Ballistics and Hotline Munitions, actually lives not too far from there in Wyoming, about a couple hours, not far from Sundance, Wyoming. And I've been to that part of Wyoming a couple of times, but I've never been to Montana. The advantage of what Blue Rock Outfitters do, because their camp is so close to the Wyoming border, they hunt in both Montana and Wyoming. So hunters will go there, they do elk, mule deer, whitetail, antelope, and they go on both sides of the border. They have leases on private land in both states. A nice camp, good people. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, but for the first 4 days, we're hunting mornings and evenings, not as much during the day, which may have been a mistake. But we saw a ton of does. We saw a couple of bucks, but not for long enough to call that really an opportunity, right? So a couple of times we'll just see what looks like a nice buck, just turn, walk over the hill and vanish, and would go look for nothing. I mean, to be fair, trying to chase down deer is a fool's errand. They run faster than we do. On day 4, I had kind of an opportunity. There was a relatively decent buck, but actually not as nice as the one I shot in. That was about 400 yards from me. And the rifle that I'm shooting, I'll talk about the rifle in a moment, it is set up with a Spartan Precision adapter that you can use for a bipod, which is kind of what I have there in the picture. You can also pop that onto a tripod. So I plopped down on my fat ass. It's a nice big pillow, basically, built in. Put the rifle on a tripod, lined it up on the mule deer. It was walking, but slowly. There was no wind. Would have been a reasonable shot. The guide who was with me measured the distance. He said 400 yards. I did not trust myself to remember the drops. So I attached using tape a drop table to the buttstock of the rifle. When he said 400 yards, I remember that I need 1.4 milliradian of drop. I looked at the buttstock, looked at my table, saw 1 milliradian because I looked at the wrong line. I looked at the line for 350 yards. And held the wrong value and put a bullet under the buck's chest, and the freaking thing ran off, which was unfortunate. So with that in mind, we went and looked around, confirmed that I didn't hit anything. It was a little bit embarrassing, but honestly, buck fever gets the best of all of us. Next morning, there was another guide who I went with, and I basically had to leave toward the end of the day. We found some does, found a buck, spooked the buck. It also wasn't looking good. Was slowly making our way down the bottom of the canyon, looking around. It's already late morning. They already bedded down. Then the guide looks left, goes, "Oh, I think those are antlers." And those were antlers. This buck that you see in the picture stood up to take a good look at us. We took a good look at him. The guide said, "Shoot the bastard," and I shot the bastard. So that's how we're here. After all the training and practice, all my long-range exploits and everything, I shot a pretty decent mule deer 70 yards from me. It's basically a chip shot. All right, Mr. Lucio, just curious if you had to apply for several years for a tag or first time drew a tag. So this was a private land hunt. So I did not need to apply for multiple years, anything like that. Basically, I paid the outfitter, and he made arrangements to get me a private land tag. Okay. So in that regard, it's a sure thing, but it costs you somebody, so, unfortunately. But I really wanted a mule deer. And this year in New Mexico draw, my kids applied and I applied, and we got basically got zero. So we got nothing in the New Mexico draw this year. So basically said screw this and paid the money and went on a private land hunt in Montana. Let's see, where was I? So that's it in a nutshell. I was able to get the deer cut up that same day, so I popped the meat in the cooler and drove home. And the head is at the taxidermist, so I'm probably not going to see that for quite a few months. And part of the deer right now is venison chili in my refrigerator, which is actually quite good. Alrighty, so that's that for mule deer. Now let's get onto the gear. So the gear was interesting. So the rifle that you see here in the picture, and I'm going to pull up a better picture so that you guys can see. Hold on. So the rifle is from a small Canadian company. Actually, I don't know how big they are, but I think they're small, called Alpine Riflecraft. And this better picture. This should be better. There we go. This is a better picture. And I'll show you some others as we go along. Let me cast this one. There we go. So Alpine, interesting. So I processed these pictures in the HDR, high dynamic range mode, but it looks like my studio software that's doing the streaming for me is not capable of translating the whole dynamic range. On my screen, it does not look blown out at all. Maybe I need to do these with standard dynamic range. That's unfortunate. So what you see in this picture is basically the gear that I took with me, other than the coffee mug. The rifle, again, is it's a 6.5 Creedmoor from Alpine Riflecraft. The crazy thing about it is that it weighs 4.7 pounds. And despite only weighing 4.7 pounds, it's a surprisingly shootable rifle. I've shot some ultralights over the years, and this is by far the most shootable. And another really interesting thing is that how well this thing is really balanced. So there you go. So for shits and giggles, I spent some time basically shooting off of various PRS style props. This is on a tank trap. The rifle balance is pretty much exactly where it needs to be for shooting off of props, rocks, barricades, things like that. It was really, really quite impressive. The action is titanium. Don't know what that titanium alloy is, but whatever it is, it worked well. The barrel is a custom profile made for them by IBI, also Canada. Again, as I said, it's a very Canadian rifle. They don't do suppressors in Canada, so they sent it to me with a muzzle brake. And pretty much the first thing I did was pull off the muzzle brake and put on a suppressor. The suppressor is the Jumbo Shrimp from Q. It's a 6.5 caliber specific suppressor. But it's short and fairly light. I really like it on precision guns. Let's see. The action, stylistically, I think it's most similar to kind of reimagined Winchester Model 70 action. It has this bolt-mounted safety that is very convenient to use. It locks the bolt closed. If you enable, basically just to position back and forward. The extraction is Mauser-style controlled feed claw, which again, everything that rifle worked beautifully, and I kind of like the fact, I sort of have a soft spot in my heart for Mausers and similar guns, that I could control the ejection. If you cycle the bolt vigorously, the cases go flying, and if you want to be more ginger about it, you can just have it just pop out into your palm. But that's not super critical. In terms of feeding and functioning, it was pretty flawless. The trigger comes from Trigger Tech, again, another Canadian company. And since I had this very, very Canadian rifle, I decided to put a Canadian scope on it. I have this Theta long range hunter scope, 3 to 15 by 50, made in Canada, in Halifax. And it barely fit on here. So the way the guys at Alpine Riflecraft do the way they do the rings, the receiver has an integrated two little dovetails on front and rear bridges. It's not Picatinny, nothing. It's just some dovetail that they do, and they make their own rings. The ring, they make 30 millimeter rings and 1-inch rings, and they are set up, I think, 1.65 inches above the axis of the barrel, which is relatively low. The way they calculated it should fit pretty well most faces in terms of where the stock is, how the stock drops, and everything. And they were right, the fit was pretty good. But and most 50 millimeter objective scopes, especially relatively long ones, would probably fit, but I would lean toward a 42-44 millimeter objective scope if I was working with this gun. The tangent cleared it, but barely. basically I could not put on the lens caps. They did not clear the barrel or the bolt handle. If you, let me see if I can zoom in so I can show you how little clearance there really is when the bolt is open. There you go, that should give you an idea. Okay. So there's barely enough space. This, the way everything is shaped, I didn't bang up my fingers. I was able to run the bolt very fast. If I needed to, nothing slipped, everything worked. I ended up just using a scope coat to protect the rifle scope, and when I was out and about, I just took it off anyway, didn't worry about the caps. But again, I'll be honest with you, I was sitting there thinking about it, trying to see, so what are my real criticisms of this rifle? In the grand scheme of things, I would have preferred it if it had a shorter barrel. This one came with a 22-inch barrel, but they make a 20 and they're probably going to start making an 18. In Canada, apparently, they have some crazy regulations that if you are a rifle manufacturer, every time you change anything like barrel length, you need to have new permits, something like that, something crazy. But so they've got 20-inch barrels already, and they're going to have 18 if I were getting one. I'd go with a shorter barrel because with the suppressor, the overall length is that much handier. That having been said, unless I win a lottery, or unless basically I get a chance to go on some ultra fancy mountain hunt, I don't think I can afford this one. The rifle as is, without optics, without a suppressor, is about $8,000, I think. Right. As far as the cost of the whole package, basically I added the suppressor and the scope to it. And with those two, this becomes approximately a $13,000 setup. $13,000 hunting rifle, that's a lot, right? But I haven't tried all ultralight hunting rifles. I haven't tried new Seekins, etc., which do look promising. I've never seen anything this light that is as easy to shoot. Since I didn't have a ton of time with it, I did not do any load development for it. I tried two different types of factory ammo. One type of factory ammo, let me see if I can. I think I had it in one of the pictures. Hold on. This one. So one was from Hotline Munitions. That's a small ammo company, ammo brand that's owned by this friend of mine, David Stark. He's been on a live stream with me in the past when I went to visit him. So he imports these lathe copper expanding bullets from Peregrine Bullets in South Africa, and they're really interesting design. They work really well. They have a brass tip, of all things, which is kind of interesting. Perhaps, I'm not entirely sure why brass. Perhaps there is this deformation. I don't know offhand. I need to think about it, what adding a little bit more weight up front really means, because most other tipped bullets are either polymer or aluminum, which is significantly lighter. But perhaps it has something to do with helping the bullet in terms of lethality. And lethality, it's got in spades. It opens at lower velocities than just about any other solid copper bullet from any other manufacturer. And the way it is shaped, it has a comparatively small bearing surface, so the bullets can be pushed rather nicely. I didn't have any pressure signs. I didn't have any real, no pressure signs, nothing. Out of my barrel, I had a 22-inch barrel. Out of my barrel, they were launching at, I think 2820 or 2830 foot per second. I have the snapshot of a chronograph somewhere here, but the exact velocity is not critical, and I'll put that in my write-up. What was really worthwhile for me was that they had, out of the rifle that I was shooting, the Hotline Munitions ammo had single-digit standard deviation. I don't know if I just got lucky. I don't know if it was just that box. I only had, I think, three boxes of it. I shot one out, getting everything sighted in and a little bit practicing. Shot another one out, just confirming all the drops at longer distances. Had one left, and I took it hunting, and there I used a couple of shots. So I have maybe 16 rounds left, something like that. Next time I go hunting with 6.5 Creedmoor, I am probably going to stick with this. I did also try Hornady's 144 grain ELDX, which also was accurate. So both loads were in a 0.7, 0.8 MOA range for slow fire 5-shot groups at 100 yards. And the rifle is probably capable of more. I don't think I can shoot a rifle in this weight class more accurately than this. Even this was a surprise for me. I didn't think I'd be able to shoot the rifle this light, this accurately. As configured with a suppressor and a scope and a sling, it is exactly 7 pounds. It's a joy to carry. And it's surprisingly forgiving to shoot in terms of felt recoil, muzzle rise, and all that, but it's still a light rifle and it moves. So the fact that I was able to shoot it relatively accurately and consistently, I shot several groups at different distances, is a little bit surprising. But that's why I'm saying that of all the ultra light rifles I've ever used, this one is easily the most shootable. And one of the reasons it's shootable, so many ultralight rifles are really, really thinned out in terms of how they do the stock. Everything is thin, everything is uncomfortable. On this one, the stock is pretty generously proportioned. The recoil pad is pretty wide. The grip has all the contours and everything. I don't know what material they use. It's some sort of weird carbon fiber and something composite. It's not just carbon fiber. It absorbs vibrations very nicely. It doesn't feel hollow. Still very light and has a really nice feel. I remember somewhere in their website says that they do what's called wet compression molding, so they don't really machine the stock. To inlet it, they kind of press the action, and I think that's what it means. Whatever they're doing with it, it's a wonderful rifle. Again, if it's a nice way of saying it. If I thought I could buy it and stay married, I would. But I'd rather stay married, basically. Love my wife very much, and being murdered in your sleep by someone you love that much would just be wrong. Okay. But anyhow, so it shot Hornady factory ammo very well also, but the standard deviation, the velocity spread was significantly higher. I took both the hotline munitions and Hornady ammo out to a bit over 400 yards. I have a 12-inch plate at 430 yards at my range, and I spent quite a lot of time shooting at that with hunting rifles because that's pretty decent practice at a relatively long range for hunting purposes, at least by my standards. Okay. All right. Before I move on from the rifle and the deer, any questions? Anything I missed? Anything you want me to add detail to? Or enough details, let's start talking optics, right? So you guys tell me. I'm gonna have a sip of my tea, and then we shall move on. Looking at the chat box, you guys are somewhat uncharacteristically quiet. I don't think I've seen Mr. Cunt Bucket stay silent for this long. It's a little bit troubling. You sure you're okay? Everything good? Maybe. All right. Let's see. Okay, Aaron is not here yet. The Alpine rifle, what is the company expectation for a write-up? I think, oh, there you go, Aaron is here. I think you have to elaborate. What do you mean by expectation? So generally speaking, if I take on anything to review, I don't promise anyone anything, to be blunt. basically, I tell them that I'll publish everything I find, good and bad, and that's pretty much it. In this case, I had no idea this company existed. I reached out to my guns and ammo editor, said, hey, I'm going hunting. Is there anything you want me to? Oh, there you go. So anything you want me to do an article on while I'm out there, right? So might as well. And the editor for Special Interest Publications, David Fabian, yeah, he's an avid hunter. So I thought, hey, I'll ask him. And then he and then he connects me with his Alpine rifle craft and say, oh yeah, we have a loaner rifle and we have about a month before it needs to go somewhere. So the expectation is that I'm gonna do an article for Guns and Ammo, and I'm going to, right? I'm kind of about halfway done writing it. But because I do other things here, I figured I should talk about it a little bit because it's a really cool rifle. So there are certain little things that it does really well that I did not expect. Okay. So, but anyhow, the only expectation I have is that there'll be a Guns and Ammo article, and there will be one probably in next year's Precision Hunter or something like that. Not for a while. All right, he is alive. And as far as they gave you the rifle, so they didn't give me they loaned me a rifle, so it's all packed up, and it's about to go back. It's pretty uncommon for people to give out $8,000 rifles very much, and it's a pretty small company. Understood. Nice rifle, but the cost, yeah, it is very expensive. Again, now if I was going on a $70,000 sheep hunt, I'd consider it. Still a lot of money, but if you're up at 12,000 foot hiking for 10 days straight, every couple of ounces are going to make a difference. I would put some serious effort into lightening the load. But as is, this thing is just stupid expensive. All right. Mr. Aaron doesn't have his camera on. Okay, he's working on it. Right, Aaron, let me know when you want me to add you to the stream. Where was I? Yeah, I think he's still setting up. No? All right, now he's back. Interesting. Technical difficulties. I suspect that I had the scope I put on it is probably the heaviest scope that's ever been on one of their rifles. They were clearly, aiming it for more traditional lightweight scopes, second focal plane, etc. But having never been to that part of Montana, I really was not sure what kind of shot I was going to take. Right, so if I knew I was going to take just a 70-yard shot, I just put some simple lightweight scope on it and be good. But under the circumstances, since I did not know what the terrain was going to look like where we hunt, I did not know what the distances were going to be. Given that I'm not going to go on this kind of a hunt anytime soon again, also wasn't cheap, I wanted to put what I believe to be the best general purpose hunting scope on the market on this gun. And that is the Tangent Theta Long Range Hunter 3-15 by 50. If you've been here for a while, you know that I generally really like that design. I think it's one of the better optimized optical systems out there. Okay, I see that Aaron is now unmuted, but there's still no picture. Interesting. I wonder if Rumble Studio is giving him a hard time. What was I? Tangent Theta. So the Long Range Hunter is almost identical to the, let me see if I can find more of a close-up picture for the scope. This is not it. I think I had one in what I was looking at in my Lightroom where I'm editing stuff. There we go. This is the picture I was looking for. So I'm going to share my Lightroom, which is not ideal, but that will work. Let's see. Forgive me, I'm showing you the editing software. I'm not done editing these pictures yet. Pay attention to the turrets. So the turrets are interesting in that when you drop them, push them down, they are basically free spinning. So you cannot accidentally bump the turrets off. All right, he's alive. And when you bump the turrets up, there you go. When you pull the turret up, it locks in, and now you have a normal externally adjustable turret. And for going hunting to a place I don't know, I really wanted to make sure I don't screw up my zero. Optically, it's more or less the same thing as my old trusty 315 M 315 by 50 M marksman model from Tangent, which is excellent. Aaron, for what it's worth, I can hear you, but I still have no picture.
Yeah, I'm fighting the camera for some reason.
Well, my money is on you, but we'll see how that works out.
I'm gonna reboot. I'll be right back.
All right. So in this picture, you see that the turrets are pulled up, and underneath is a perfectly normal scale. And if you pull the turrets down, it looks like you can adjust the turrets. Yeah, like this. This is when the turrets are pushed down, but they're free spinning. So when they came up with this, I think somebody, US Optics or somebody, had a patent on locking turrets that didn't want to pay a royalty. So they came up with a different solution. It works beautifully. Beyond that, it is just a perfectly normal tangent data scope, optical and mechanical excellent, everything tracks, stays zeroed, and all that. But because this particular scope is intended more for hunting, they, and I know I took some pictures, I don't know if I have them in here. So pictures will come later. I'm going to have a write-up on this, so you'll see it now. Maybe I'll do a video. But the way the reticle works, it's basically a little bit like an abbreviated Gen2 mil dot. You have a relatively thick tapering bars coming in from the edges. You know what, let me see if I can find a good picture to show you. There we go. Miller edit, perfect. So I found a picture, I'm going to put that on the screen. And that was one of the big reasons why I really wanted this particular gun, because the reticle is really what makes it a more hunting-oriented scope than just a precision style crossover. Let's see. Here's a picture from Tangent Theta's web page. Oh, there we go. Now the camera is alive. Okay. So what you have basically, it's a 7 milliradian left to right between the thick bars on the bottom and top, and basically you have 3.5 milliradian with half milliradian holes on both sides. For hunting, for anything you might want to use the reticle for holdover, in my opinion, this is more than enough. What this structure does, keeps the reticle simple, still gives you holes if you need them, and because of how the thick bars are set up, it's nicely visible with or without illumination on all magnifications, from 3 to 5 and everything in between. While trying to find mule deer, we had one spot over there that's basically like a dry creek bed. We knew there were deer there. So we set up there a little bit before sunset and just sat there. Hi, Aaron. And we just
Good
sat there
evening.
glassing for a while. And we saw a few does, etc. The buck will look if it never came out. But what it did, it gave me a chance to sit there well past after shooting hours, look through the binoculars and look through the rifle scope and go back to back. And to my significant surprise, And I think I have a picture here of that I can show you what that looked like. I was able to take some low light pictures. The pictures look a lot brighter than it actually was there. It was pretty freaking dark. But anything that I could see with my with the tangent rifle scope, that is no mean feat, right? The Leicas are really good in low light, and it was legitimately there we go. So I brightened up this image so you could see it more clearly. But basically, this is what I did. I had the binocular there. I had the rifle in the back on the back of the truck. The just to the right, where you see a little bit of it, is this dry creek bed. There was whitetail, there was mule deer, there was also stuff walking around. It was fairly deep. You could just see the ears, and we could look at things from 100 yards from us to about 800. And again, both the binocular and the rifle scope and the reticle kept me going well past regular shooting hours. That was actually very, very cool. All right. Anyhow, again, I'm going to have sort of a separate little video on the Tangent Theta long range hunter, but I will say that the scope did not disappoint me. It absolutely kicks ass. Now I need to decide what rifle to put it on. Honestly, the way that reticle is set up, I might shoot some hunter matches with it too. It should work fine for that use as well, but we'll see. The Tangent 15H seems to have pop-up turrets similar to the Swarovski Z8i 2-16x15. I don't know what turrets are on that Swarovski. Are they also free spinning when collapsed and lock in so that you can make the adjustments when they're pulled up, or how does that work? That's okay. I'm looking up the Swarovski scope. I don't know what turret is on there. I don't see it. I don't know. I would need to look at a later point. Karen, do you know anything about Swarovski turrets? Doing some sort of pop-up thing, anything like that? Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
I'm
Maybe
not overly familiar
out.
with the Swaro rifle scopes.
Yeah, I've been boycotting Swaro colors for a few years, so I'm not super familiar. Look at the picture; it may be similar. It can't be too similar because I think Tangent patented theirs when they came up with it. But maybe it's different enough on the inside, or maybe they just don't give a shit, which would not surprise me either. So this is the link, okay? Let me look. Let me look at what you sent me. All right, interestingly, from the chat, it's giving me a hard time in terms of copy pasting the address. Let's see. All right. Main mount. Turrets is a picture what the turrets are doing. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it might be similar. So.
Are they talking about the ballistic?
No, it's not the ballistic thing. So the way the tangent turret works is that when the turrets are collapsed, they're free spinning, so you cannot accidentally bump them. And if you want to dial, you pull up and it engages like a clutch. Then you have actually very easy to grab turret that you can use to dial regular Miller-Radian.
No, that's right. You've got to pull it up.
Yeah, correct. Which I found myself liking a lot more than I thought I would, because when you're just carrying a thing around, you have very nice low-profile turrets that are staying put. And then if you want to dial because you're pulling this thing up, it's actually pretty easy to grab, surprisingly. Anyhow, all of that worked very nicely, but I didn't have to dial while hunting. I did a lot of dialing while practicing.
I think the patent that the Tangent has is the the zero stop and zeroing mechanism in the turret?
That's on the big turret. I thought they may have had a patent on a different patent on the free spinning thing, but I could be wrong, right? I mean, again, I'll spend a lot of time digging through patents on rifle scopes, unless somebody asks me to, or unless somebody's paying me to. That also has happened before. It happens. Okay, before we move on, I'm kind of going through my agenda, and you guys are being quiet. So if you give me a chance, I can go on a 3-hour monologue just fine, right? So it's on you if you don't give me anything else to pay attention to. But before we move on to the Vortex, any questions on a tangent, on Alpine rifle, or on a mule deer? Because since now that I've shot one mule deer, I pretend to be an expert all the time.
Same with me. I've shot one mule deer too.
Yeah. So it's I've attempted to shoot more than one, but I only shot one right now. Quite proud of it. But it's can't buckets do it. Do it what? You want a 3-hour monologue? Are you masochistic or something?
My business partners and their family have put 6 mule deer in the dirt this year.
Very cool. Oh, I've got a question for you guys. So the way we are talking right now, so I have a microphone on my chest, but to hear Aaron, I'm just using computer speakers. Is there any echo? Just out of curiosity. So when Aaron speaks, I wonder if the microphone picks up the sound from the computer. If not, I can put the wireless headset on.
I'm not hearing any echo through my headset.
Yeah, neither am I. So maybe the microphone is smarter than I am. Wouldn't be surprised. Lots of gadgets are smarter than I am these days. Okay. Where was I? So in terms of how long I'm going to be talking about this mule deer, no echo accent. Perfect. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. So where was I? Yeah. To give you an idea of how long I plan to be talking about this mule deer, I shot an Audette sheep in 2021, and I'm still talking about it. At a fairly constant repetition rate. So I suspect 5 years from now, you'll be still hearing stories about mule deer, and every year the story is probably going to get a little better. Distance is going to get longer, buck is going to get bigger. You know how that is. It's a little bit like fishing stories, right? When I was this tall, I got a fish, this big, and the size of the fish somehow grows every year. All right, Mr. Aaron.
Senor Ilya.
What you joined here because you had a question. I know you always have a question.
I want to know about the new baby razor from Vortex.
You mean this thing?
Yeah, buddy.
My precious. Well, technically, it's not the baby razor. Baby razor is the 1 to 10. That's the smallest. This is a middle child.
Okay, so middle child.
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't had it for very long.
I know. I got the picture when you got it.
Yes. Comes with a sunshade, comes with Vortex caps. I did an unboxing video, and I'm going to make a YouTube short out of it. It should go live tomorrow. It ain't very big. I think it's about 12.5 inches long, so we can probably qualify it as an ultra short. The eyepiece feels very much like a razor, like the big 6-36 Razor Gen3. Apparent field of view is about the same, about 24 degrees or thereabouts. All the controls work. Everything is smooth. The sight focus has little hash marks, but does not have any numbers, which is kind of interesting. I think on the big one it has numbers. The illumination is the same style. You pull it out, and there's every other position is off. The windage turret is covered. Underneath it is a pretty solid turret. I really like it. Same, L-type turret that the Vortex uses. It tracks and everything. Elevation turret. Again, it's a Mr. Bryce Fackler here. What's up, boys? How are you, Bryce? The elevation turret pops up It's a fairly small pop-up. There is a nice detent there. You kind of know when it's popped up, when it's not popped up.
That turret looks shorter than
It is short. It is a shorter, smaller turret. So one of the
nice.
things that is conspicuously missing from this one, it's probably not going to be a big deal for almost everyone. There'll be a couple of people who complain. Is there is no rev turn indicator. Remember, on a Gen 3, the turret is taller, and the base there is this indicator that pops out when you go to multiple revolutions. Here they don't have one. You can do multiple revolutions, but there is no indicator. I suspect the primary purpose for this scope is accurate gas guns, NRL hunter rifles, that kind of stuff. And for that, you will almost never go beyond one turn, so it was probably a reasonable decision. I briefly thought about popping it on my rimfire, actually.
Send it to me. I'll put it on the rimfire.
Pardon me?
I said, send it to me. I'll put it on the rimfire.
I have a rimfire. Don't worry about it. I had it on the rimfire earlier today. Different one. So I briefly thought about putting it on the rimfire, and on my 22, when I try to shoot far away, it's pretty much the only time I ever go past one revolution. Well, and on subsonics. And for that, it's not going to be ideal. I don't like trying to remember what rev I'm on and all that sort of jazz. For right now, I set it up. I have a very accurate 17 HMR bolt gun from Voodoo. Before Voodoo went to Oklahoma. I don't know. Do you have any insight into what's happening with Voodoo? They're claiming they're shipping rifles, right?
They're back in business and they're up and running.
Yeah. Anybody know if they are maintaining good quality or what's happening there?
I would say they are. I don't have any firsthand experience with a rifle coming from the new shop. All I can say is the way the new CEO handled the move and transition could have been much better. But there is a lot going on behind the scenes that people just need to take a big breath, and they just need to, it's the same company. Okay. Quality's going to be good. They moved it to Oklahoma because it's closer to a gunsmith school. They can get better qualified candidates.
Very cool.
Having a gun company in St. George, Utah is not probably ideal. Like, it just doesn't attract the gunsmith type talent. And give them another shot. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, they damaged their reputation a little bit, but
look, in the end,
eventually the full story will come out.
Yeah, look, product in the end, the quality of the product stands on its own merit. Yeah. If the product is good, they'll be fine. If the product is not good, well, they won't be. But either way, I have the Voodoo bolt gun in 17 HMR that I bought 2-3 years ago, something like that. Don't remember now. Thanks to Aaron connecting me with a gentleman who worked at Voodoo at the time and was still in touch. Nice guy. So I had a long conversation with him, and he convinced me, and I got a 17 HMR. So when I start reviewing a new precision-oriented scope, I have a fairly standard protocol. Before I put it in a collimator, before I do any serious optical tests, I put it on a rimfire of some sort, either on a 22, which would have been my Tika T1X, but I'm already testing another new scope on there, or on this Voodoo. And I go and just shoot it, look at different things, twist the turrets, do some basic tracking tests. And the first basic tracking test that I do is really simple. Once I sight this thing in, whatever piece of paper I have out there, I basically zero it at that distance, shoot one round, dial 1 milliradian up, shoot one more round, dial another milliradian up, shoot one more round, and do so until I basically run out of paper. And then I start dialing back down, again 1 milliradian at a time, and at each milliradian I shoot one round. And I go up and down like this several times, slowly and carefully, trying to make every shot as perfect as I can. In the end, after shooting some number of rounds, I end up with several vertically arranged groups. And what I am keeping track of is, well, first of all, does it adjust accurately. Although honestly, the most important thing is not so much that it adjusts accurately, but rather that the adjustments are consistent and match the reticle. In this case, they're consistent, they match the reticle, and they're accurate. And then I am looking to see if approaching a particular turret setting from below or from above makes a difference. Because if it does, then there is hysteresis in the turret. It's not super common anymore. It used to be fairly common. So you can tell a lot from this basic exercise. And over the years, I figured out that it is extremely predictive in terms of how the scope is going to do. And so far, I'm not seeing any indications of a problem. To be blunt, everything is working beautifully. As is the case with the 6-36 Gen 3, one of the strong suits of this one, I think, is the image quality. It is impressive. So it goes from 4 to 24, right? There is, like with most scopes, very slight image quality deterioration at the very top of the magnification range. It's maybe between 23 and 24. So to see an apparent slight loss of contrast, you basically have to be right at the very, very top. So that's pretty reasonable to me. I spent quite a lot of time looking out at the resolution charts, targets, rocks, whatever else I could find. I think the sweet spot is somewhere in the 15 to 20 power range, which is probably the right way to optimize a precision-oriented scope, because it's going to be spending a lot of time on that magnification range. Despite the smallish objectives, the eye box is extremely forgiving. It's a very, very easy scope to get behind. I did some positional shooting off of tank traps and stuff like that. It's a very, very easy scope to use. I think we will see it in NRL Hunter competitions quite a bit because it weighs 32 ounces. And if you're trying to make weight, this is a pretty decent way to go. Now, on higher magnifications, you will see the exit pupil tighten up a little bit. But again, I gotta say the scope was pretty easy to get behind. And as far as pure image quality goes, there was nothing weak. It's very well optimized. It's very well rounded. Sometimes you look at a scope, okay, one has good resolution, lacks contrast. Some have really good in the center, fall off at the edges. I'm seeing no obvious weaknesses in this one. It's very, very well rounded. The color temperature is pretty neutral. It seems to be very true to life. Flare control is very respectable. I spent some time shooting, not quite into the sun, but the sun was low enough where it induced a little bit of flare. So there was a little bit of loss of contrast, but at no point was I not able to take a carefully aimed shot. So that was pretty good. Depth of field is really impressive. Probably, arguably, one of the more impressive things optically. Once I got out there a little bit, I really did not have to mess with the sight focus much at all. For competitions like Narrow Hunter and that kind of stuff, this is actually a big advantage when you're transitioning between plates if they're at different distances. You probably won't need to mess with the sight focus very much at all unless you have very extreme distance transition. Like the local PRS matches that we have here, they always have one stage where you kind of go back and forth between a prairie dog at 180 yards and a bear at 1140. So for that, you'd need to adjust sight focus a little bit, but probably not very much. All in all, I gotta say it's a very well-rounded scope. I've seen some very early prototypes here and there while visiting Vortex over the years. They didn't quite look like this, but I think they were precursors to this guy. I don't know how long they've had it in development. I want to say about 4 or 5 years at least. So they've spent quite a lot of time working on this thing. It is made by Light Optics Works in Japan. With LOW, you never quite know where they are sharing resources, right? I mean, there are no OEMs, so you will see a lot of scopes out there that are clearly related to each other. I'm not real 100% certain what this guy is related to. The closest in terms of configuration to this that I have is the Delta Striker 3.5 to 21 by 44, which is a lot less expensive. It's $1,600, $1,700, like $1,000, $1,100 less expensive than this guy. This one is not cheap at $2,800. Maybe there is something related between them on the inside, but in terms of how the image feels to me and some of the little quirks of how the image is optimized, they don't look like very related designs to me. And beyond that, I'm not entirely sure what else would be the closest, right? Light Optic Source has this 4 to 25 by 50 that a lot of people have, which is very nice. Zeiss has it tracked, Revit, Element. It's a really, really nice scope. They're usually running in a $1,600, $2,200 range. I'm very well familiar with them. If they are related to, if the optical system is related to this one, it's pretty distant relationships. This is a differently optimized scope, and I think it's a better scope. So, again, I have not had a ton of time with it. I have not looked at it in low light. Everything I did so far was basically good light evaluation. I have not put it in the collimator. If you guys are willing to wait, and I'll take votes, I can. Well, Aaron is going to have to entertain you for a couple of minutes. I can pop it on the collimator, and we can look through it right now and see what the image looks like. So it'll
Let's
show
do
you the
it.
reticle, and we can do quick tracking if you want. So
let's do it. I will just talk through the specs of it.
very excellent. So I'll let Aaron talk through the specs. I can still hear you. My microphone is wireless, so I can talk while I'm doing this. You're just not going to see this beautiful face.
That's perfect. Go set it up because I want to see through it.
Right. So the reticle is a normal 7D from Vortex, so it is fairly thin. Other than lack of rev counter, that's pretty much my only complaint about the scope so far. Is that on full power, the reticle does get thinner than I typically like. On the other hand, given the likely customer for this thing, we may not be able to do this. I've got it in the low rings, and I don't know if my camera goes down low enough. I need a spacer. Oh no!
Well, if it doesn't, oh well.
No. I have another riser here. I see it.
So Klein Bottle has a question. So
Okay.
Given the Leupold 5 to 25 times 56 with the PR2 reticle at 30 ounces and around 2K and heavily used in PRS and NRL, given its value, what type of buyer do you think this will appeal with Vortex's $2,800 higher cost?
That is actually a really good question, and I would expect nothing less than that from a true Nordic boss aficionado. He knows what I mean. So this scope is a lot shorter. It is a lot shorter. It has good turrets. It will appeal to people who want to put this on an accurate gas gun. It will appeal to people who want to put a clip-on in front of it. It will appeal to people who want a different balance of some sort.
That's what I was going to ask. Is this clip-on worthy?
I have not yet tested with a clip-on, although I will.
Okay, well, I will. I haven't bought my clip-on yet, so I will wait. I think the biggest difference, to answer his question, is the Mark V has the stupidest windage turret on it I've ever seen. Like, if they would have put a real windage turret on it, I would not be so critical. They did correct that mistake on the Mark IV. I honestly would argue that the Mark IV 6 to 26 is probably Vortex's main competition with this little guy. The Mark IV is basically a baby Mark V, and all of the people at Leupold will claim that the Mark IV is slightly clearer than the Mark V. And
I don't know if Mark IV is clearer, but it is nice and clear.
it's nice and clear. I mean, it is what it is, right? I think what appeals about this rifle scope is, one, it has Vortex's warranty, which is probably the best warranty on the market, and then it is shorter, much shorter and more compact. So I think it would go slightly better on hunting guns and on dedicated SBRs and precision gas guns. I think this would pair very nicely with the Seekins, their AR-10 platform, which is showing to have some pretty good repeatable accuracy. Which, if I'm not wrong, I think Seekins won some special forces contract with their.
No, well, they had a special forces contract a few years ago. Now they were replaced by somebody else.
Oh, okay.
Everybody thinks that they just won it because some gun writer decided to just now do the article on it, but they actually are no longer in that contract.
Okay, well, anyways, they're chasing another contract with their new rifle they have out, which is very interesting. But no, I don't know. I mean, again, NRL and PRS is 1% of the gun market. Like, it's a very small niche group. So I don't believe Vortex built this for that niche. All of their marketing on their website is all military and law enforcement driven on this particular setup. And so, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting design, I think. Well, Ilya will have to do a glass comparison, right?
What? One more time?
I said eventually you're going to have to do a glass comparison.
Oh,
do you have a Mark IV? I'll send you one if you don't.
I have a Mark IV 4.5 to 18 by 52.
Yeah, and then do you have a Mark V?
All right.
If not, Leupold would loan you one, right?
Pardon me?
Do you have a Mark V?
I do not have a Mark V right now.
Well, you'll have to ask Snodgrass if he'll send you one.
Come visit me in Albuquerque, bring a Mark V with you, and we'll do a comparison.
My Mark V needs to go back to Leupold. It doesn't parallax under 75 yards. I've just been too lazy to take it off my gun. So I have an 8-32 Mark IV, which I used at the sniper match that we shot. That I really liked.
That's actually not the best scope.
I liked it. I'm gonna swap it out because it is very limited on turret. And I'm looking at this scope. This is incredible. So going over the specifications, it has 46 mils of adjustment. Which is crazy. It's crazy that it has 46 mils of adjustment, Ilya, and they didn't put a rev indicator on it.
No, that sounds about right. So I zeroed it on my gun, and after zeroing, I was able to dial 29 mil radian comfortably.
On a 17 HMR? That's pretty legit.
I didn't need to dial that much to shoot.
So the Gen 3 has 36 milliradians.
Correct.
The 6-36. So somehow they squeezed.
So it's a little bit easier to get a lot of adjustment range out of it.
Yeah, so somehow they squeeze another 10 mils into this little into this little scope, which is actually quite interesting when you start to think about putting it on a rimfire, because that gives you the ability to run this scope on what would be a typical 20 MOA or 30 MOA base without needing 50 or 70 to maximize the Gen 3 Razor or the ATACR or the I don't see a ton of Mark 5s in the rimfire because they don't parallax closer than 35 or 50 yards.
Leopold is not really addressing the rimfire game especially well.
The Mark 4 6 to 24 is prevalent because it parallaxes like it should.
Yeah.
But my favorite rimfire scope today is the Gen 3 Razor 6 to 36.
Yeah, I am with you. That's the scope I usually have on my Tikka. Alright, so I haven't got the focus setup. I don't know if we will be able to easily do tracking, but at least you'll be able to see what this thing looks like. Right, come on, work with me. Okay.
I found your article very interesting, Ilya. The
Which one of them?
Was it the 2 to 10 or the 2 to 12 article?
Oh, about 2 to 10 by 30?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So what are your thoughts on instead of a 2 to 10, a 4 to 24? I guess the 2 to 10 are still lighter.
A bit more. Because the objective lens sort of makes sense to me. Okay, so I've got this thing. Let me see if I can switch the video output, and you'll be looking through the scope. It's this one. There you go.
Is Glenn Bottle close by you? He said whoever clean Bottle.
Klein Bottle? No, he's not. But we've met. We shot a hunter match together, and we've met.
Okay.
Well, a couple of hunter matches together. So
he's offering to borrow you Mark 5 for comparison.
Mark 5 7 to 35. It's not super relevant. We'll see. All right. So let me look at the questions, and then I'll go and show you the zoom ranges and stuff. Let's see.
Oh, he's in Phoenix. He's not too far away.
Like he moves around a lot. Okay, I'm just looking at the comments.
Well, Count Bucket, it's also $1,000 cheaper.
Yeah,
the correct. Mark 4 over the Mark 5.
So for the money, I definitely prefer the Mark 4 over the Mark 5. I'm also not a big fan of Mark 5's goofy windage turret, but I don't dial windage very much. For me, it's not as big of a problem as it is for PRS guys. And is this Vortex optically better over the Mark 5 and Mark 4? Without doing a true side-by-side, it's hard to say. I will do a side-by-side with the Mark 4 I have, which will give me a pretty good idea. It's definitely wider field of view. And wide field of view is kind of hard. So despite having wider field of view, I think it's a little bit better optically, and I think it's a little bit easier to get behind. And it is a lot more expensive, though, so there's that. But whether the step up is worth the money is kind of a personal choice. Mark 4 is a good scope, right? So I like to crap all over Leopold once in a while because, well, they're funny when they take offense. But I don't like legacy Leopold products. Mark 4, Mark 5 within their intended range are good scopes. For the money, I think Mark 4 is the best they've got right now. But to be fair, there's supposed to be Gen 2 Mark 5 coming out of Chacho, so we'll see what that looks like.
Ooh.
Okay, so you're looking through the Vortex Razor Gen3 4-24x44. It has pretty wide apparent field of view, so the lens I have here is not that wide. I'm going to go down on low power. Right, let me get it focused. So the big radical, thick radicals from the collimator. Having a hard time focusing on that thing. There we go. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, so you see the Scope reticle is pretty thin. Okay, let me see if I can get them better lined up.
Is it as thin as a tangent?
On low power, because there are no thick bars on the outside, it feels thinner to me.
Okay.
All right. It is a little bit thicker than in the 6-36. If you look at the dimensions of the reticle, they thickened it slightly by 0.1 or something like that. The line's a little bit thicker and all that, but it's also lower magnification scope. So right now we're on 4. The next marked magnification is 6, right? On 6, it's a pretty decently usable reticle. You won't see it super well in low light, but it's not bad. I don't need to use a 3 on 6 power, the main study. Let me move it sideways a little bit so that you're not as blocked by the big reticle from the collimator. Like this. Is this better?
Yeah.
I'll go with yes. So on 6, it's perfectly reasonable. On 4, it should work pretty well with the clip-ons, quite a few of them, but the catch is that when you are using a thermal clip-on, for example, or night vision, or whatever, you're usually relatively low light. When you're working relatively low light, it has pretty nicely worked out illumination. Brightest illumination, right? I covered the objective with my hand. Okay, so you can, even backlit with the collimator, the illumination is pretty decent. And on low power, if you are okay at doing something with illumination, it's not bad. On a bright sunny day, illumination is not super bright. But anything less than that, I'm gonna go. This is 9, 8. I'm talking about illumination settings. 7 is a lot dimmer, right, and so on.
Wow, the difference between 8 and 7 is dramatic.
On 3 in conditions, you don't see it, right? It is. I played with it a little bit. It's very good in actual low light, and in anything but the brightest light, it will help you see the reticle in low power. But the reticle is definitely aimed at more precision shooting crowd, right? So now we're going to 8 power magnification. I'm going to go up a little bit. This is 10. And this is where, from a competition standpoint, I start carrying, because I shoot most of the hunter matches on 10 or 12 power or thereabouts. So this is 10. And at 10, the reticle is pretty decently visible. I would have no issue with this. Same ballpark, if I were to put it in a rifle, I actually have to hunt with. If I need to take a longer shot, I'm going to be somewhere in this magnification ballpark. This is usable. I can use the 1 mil radian gradations. In the reticle, the 0.2 steps are still a little not quite spaced enough to use 0.2. This is about 12 ballpark. There we go. Let's see if I can adjust this thing a little bit so that everything is sharper, right? So it is a good reticle. It's just thin on low power, but there are workarounds. So this is 16, this is 20, this is 24. Okay. The reticle is going to be very familiar. It's a normal Vortex reticle. They toned it down slightly, going from C to D versions. It works very nicely. There are 0.5 wind holds, there are 0.2s, there are numbers. It's just a fairly nicely worked out reticle. I've got a ton of mileage with it, so I have no problem using it. Like when I was shooting groups earlier today, I was on 16 most of the time. For me, that's kind of a good combination of stability and precision. It worked beautifully. No real questions. Now that I've gotten a collimator, so let's check if the reticle at least is size correct. I don't know if I can click here in a repeatable manner the way I've got this thing set up right now. So
that's centered. Looks good.
Yeah. So in terms of the reticle accuracy, it's good. Right. The reticle, there's your 10 mil Gen3. The reticle is accurate. Right. So I'll try to dial, but I make no promises. So it springs back more or less. We can get close. I'm just gonna dial 10 and see if it gets me anywhere. This is 10 with dial 10. So see, it shifted by exactly 10 mil radian. So it tracks. I'll mess with it more. I'll fix it a little bit more firmly on in front of the collimator. But it works. So, and honestly, I would expect it to. I have a ton of mileage with the Gen 3s. Haven't really seen them give me tracking issues or anything like that. So uh, it's a nice little scope. The internet is gonna complain that it's expensive. Some ELR guys are gonna complain that you gave them a scope with 46 mils of adjustment range without a rev counter. Okay, I kind of get it. That's no problem.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks like a solid package.
It's a nice scope.
I mean, the problem is if you want everything you want in a scope, well, you're gonna pay for everything.
Well, it's not even that. It's everybody was yelling that the Razor 6-36 is super heavy. So Vortex, rather than try to give you a scope with a 50 mm objective that's slightly less heavy, they did this, which gives you the bulk of the capability of the 6-36, and it's a pound less. It's literally a pound less. It's 32 ounces instead of Razor's 48, 47, something like that. The big one.
45. I've got it pulled up. I'll tell you. 45.1.
Yeah, so 13 ounces less, almost a pound less. It's a lot. So how do you save weight without compromising things, right? For example, for the Razor HD LHT, they really wanted to go light. It's less than 22 ounces. So what happened? It's 30 mm tube. The turrets have to be much simpler. Field of view is not as wide as this. It's a magnification. These are all the things you have to sacrifice to make the scope light. So Vortex simplified the turret a little bit. No rev counter. Some of the brass parts are missing. The eyepiece is the same. The apparent field of view is the same. They made a smaller objective lens because neon glass is heavy. It made it shorter. So they gave you a scope that does 85% of what 6-36 does in a package that's shorter and lighter. On high magnification, the 6-36 is going to be clearly better. 56 mm objective, no replacement for cubic inches. Yeah. If you live on moderate magnifications, go up occasionally when the opportunity presents itself. This is a nice scope. There's no question.
Yeah, I mean, I love the 6-36. I live on 25 to 30 power in competitions.
For rimfire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and for rimfire, I think 6-36 is a better scope.
It's a great. I'm gonna pick one up. So I'm gonna email Vortex and pick one up. So.
Yeah, you should. I mean, So again, as always, general disclaimer: it is a new scope. It's a sample. I've got a sample of one, but again, it's a Razor Gen3. They've been making these for a few years. They had initial hiccup with the turrets on the 6-36 that they figured out. Since then, I saw literally dozens of them, and they've been consistent.
Yeah, this is going to go on the 7 PRC.
There you go. On the one I saw at the match?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually...
Yeah, because we go to Montana next year, 1,800 meter target.
Yeah.
The 8 to whatever Mark IV have doesn't have the adjustability I need. And because it's a lightweight action with a split rail, I can't up the rail. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see how this does. It should
you can. So you can use Burris XTR rings with inserts to give you
I can. I'm an Area 419 guy, so I'd buy their comp rings with 20 MO in them.
Okay, there we go.
I'd have to look. These ones might have 20 MO in them. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So
but I put that gun together really quickly, so I compromised on some of the things that I did.
Looks for the sniper match in Montana, this is probably as perfect of a scope as I've seen. It's not super heavy; it gives you all the range. For that kind of match, you're not going to be sitting on 20 power. Not there. Like you. That was your first, I think, match of this hunter style unknown distance, right? Yeah, you can't sit. I mean, I'm sure.
No. You
can't sit on 25 power. No. I'm on 12. You're a better shot than I am. You're probably on 16. I mean, that's about there. So.
But yeah, I mean, it's impressive. It really, really is. I mean, Vortex is upping their game. Their high end stuff, even their lower end stuff now, is becoming very, very nice. their stuff. So
The industry overall is getting better. It's harder and harder to buy a crappy scope. I just started looking at Telson 5-25 f56. It's the Chinese OEM scope. It's really good. It's probably the best Chinese OEM scope I've seen to date, close up there. I mean, it is impressively nice. It's not cheap, nice stuff is not cheap. But it's very interesting. It's a 5-25 by 56 that weighs 32 ounces, right? And for all the NRL Hunter guys who want to run a Mark V because it's 30 ounces, but don't want to pay the price, that's probably the one. Oh, by the way, is that 3-18 Telson still working well for you?
yes, yeah, it's a great scope.
It sounded like there was some reservation there.
I haven't shot it a lot.
Oh, okay.
So there's the hesitation is I've had it out a couple times and I haven't shot it a ton, but it does the job. It's clear, it looks good, it's great. It's been put in,
and it's a normal tree reticle and it's illuminated, which you still can't get in the Mark V for some reason.
Yeah, and I purchased it for a clip-on to put a clip-on on it. So I may move it to the 17 HMR and then put and then set the 17 up to run it on there. It's currently on a 6 arc. I may bounce it around. We'll see. Now that that thermal came down dramatically, I will probably pick one up.
That's not a bad idea. I'm going to be doing some testing on the thermals through the winter and in the spring. We'll see how all that pans out. Okay, Aaron, I know you have to bail out right around now, I think.
Yeah, any last questions for me before I leave? Yeah. I got to go help wrestle some kids in bed.
Yeah, and then I'll stick around for a few more minutes if anything else comes up. If you guys want to see anything else about the scope, I'll be more than happy to. Otherwise, I'm gonna wrap up and go to sleep. My dad is back in the hospital, so everything here is kind of a mess.
So's mine. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
Well, at least his was a scheduled back surgery. He's not in the hospital for an emergency like he was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, mine is for another emergency, second time in last month. So.
Okay. Well, I am going to say goodbye, guys. I appreciate for everyone who jumps on. I also deeply appreciate Ilya when he invites me. This was spur of the moment, so I joined for as much as I could. You guys have a good night.
I really appreciate it. If any more questions come up for you, I'll forward them along.
Okay, sounds good. See you guys later. Bye.
Good night. Alrighty. Okay, guys. So I covered the program that I had planned. The Gen 3 is still on a collimate if there's anything there you want to see. And that's it. Let me see. Do you all ever see people running the 4-20 and those longer range comps, or is the extra 4x pretty important? Yeah, you see 4-20s, 4-16s, all sorts of stuff. Extra magnification for the longer range stuff is really not super critical. A bunch of LR guys are running 3-18s and stuff like that. Somewhat paradoxically, when you're shooting really far away, you don't get to use as much magnification because there's a lot of air between you and the target, and air quality is going to really screw things up for you. So I run a 7-35 in my hunter matches, and it almost always just sits on a 12. I run a 7-35 because I have one and because it is optically remarkable, right? But if I want to go try to squeeze into a lighter weight class or just test one, I can switch to a 3-15 with no detriment, no change to how I shoot. Okay. Now for the rimfire and airgun stuff, that's where you run high magnification because you are shooting at very, very small targets that are relatively not as far away from you, so there is less air between you and the target. Less air means less air turbulence distortion and all sorts of other atmospherics. So when you're shooting at fairly small things that are not super far away from you, that's when you can use a lot of magnification. That's why Aaron said for his rimfire comps, he's running at 25 power all the time. Why? Because, well, he's shooting a gun that doesn't really kick, so it's very easy to see where the bullet's going. And he's shooting relatively not as far, although they do shoot fairly far. and the target is very small. So there you will actually need high magnification much more. So if you're shooting centerfire really far away, yeah, 4-20, 4-24 makes no real difference, at least in my opinion. So, like I said, I will not be surprised to see quite a few of these in Earl Hunter rifles and stuff like that. So my plan for time being, for now, is I'm gonna run it on my 17 HMR for a little bit, not for too long, and then I'm gonna pop it onto possibly a precision AR. Although I might just put it in my match bolt gun, but I'm probably gonna pop it in my precision AR and shoot some local PRS style matches with it. We can shoot it with a semi-auto. I wanted to do it anyway, and that would be a really good test of how this scope does off of barricade and stuff like that. Like I said, I did some shooting off of tank traps and stuff, and I'll do a little bit more. But shooting it off of an AR is going to be a good general purpose exercise. So that is pretty much that. All right, guys, I'm gonna give it another minute or two, and if no other questions come up, we will wrap up for today. I am gonna go quickly look through the comments to see if there's anything I missed while I was messing with the collimator setup. No, I think we've addressed everything. All right, I'm gonna keep this running. I'm gonna go pull the scope off, turn off the lamp and the collimator and all that sort of stuff. If there is anything else you want me to address while I'm here, please put it in the chat box. I'll see that momentarily. And if there is nothing else, then we will wrap up for today. So I should tighten this ring with my fingers. No, I cannot loosen it with those same fingers. There we go. Alrighty. Okay. Alright, I don't see anybody coming up with any new questions. So I think, I know there's a little bit of a delay between when I say things and when you guys hear it. I'm gonna give it a minute or so, and then we will call it a night. I'm not a huge fan of the Vortex scope caps. It can be a little bit of a pain to put on, but they lock the eyepiece adjustment in adequately well, and they close and stay closed when I need them to. So I'll take it. Again, it is a pretty impressive scope, I gotta say. All right, going once, going twice. Mr. Count Bucket. I really like those low profile locking turrets. So the only turret that locks is elevation turret. The windage turret is capped, and this turret underneath it is not locking. Very nicely adjusted, but not locking. So, and that's kind of my preferred way of doing things, because I'm almost never adjust windage. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for sticking with me. I really do appreciate it. If you come up with any other questions after we wrap up, please put them in a comment under a video on whatever platform you're on, and we'll go from there. Before I wrap up, though, now that it just occurred to me, so I did promise to raffle off, almost forgot about it, the gift certificate from XS Sites. My original evil plan was to do this toward the end of the live stream to make you guys watch it. And let's see, 1, 2. Interestingly, only 3, 4. Only 4 people expressed interest in the XS Sites gift certificate. So I am going to run a random number generator from 1 to 4, and we'll see who got it. All right. 1. Who was 1? All right. Mr. Harry Grubbs. He already won something, I think. All right. Mr. Harry Grubbs won the XS Site certificate. I'll shoot you an email. I don't know if you're here or not. I'll shoot you an email and tell me the address where the certificate goes to. With that, I will bid you guys good night. Have a good night. And again, if there anything else comes up, you know where to find me.